You know, that feeling, right? That almost constant buzz of change in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't just a buzzword anymore. It feels like the air we breathe now.
Absolutely. Yeah. External shifts, internal shakeups. It's constant.
So the question isn't if change is coming, but, well, how do we actually handle it? How do we navigate it well?
Exactly. And when you talk about navigating, those turbulent waters, there's one thing that's just completely non-negotiable:
What's that?
leadership. The role of leadership in making business transformation actually work.
Right. It's not just managing tasks or ticking boxes.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's much deeper. It's about influencing, really motivating people, guiding them through what can honestly feel like a massive upheaval.
Okay, so that's exactly what we want to dive deep into today. What does truly effective leadership and change management look like?
Good question.
Our mission, really, is to get past the usual checklists. Let's explore the core ideas, maybe with a fresh perspective. Dig into what successful leaders actually do, those little nuances.
And maybe look at a real-world example, too.
Definitely. Bring it to life with a case study. We want to give you those aha moments, not just a dry recap. So let's unpack this.
Sounds good. So where do we start? Defining leadership in this context.
Yeah, let's start there. What does leadership mean when we're talking about significant transformation?
Well, it's definitely more than just having authority, It's that specific ability to influence people, to inspire them, really.
So rally them.
Exactly. Rally them towards achieving those critical business goals, especially when everything feels like it's shifting under their feet.
It sounds like a delicate balance. It's not just setting the direction, is it? It's bringing people with you.
Precisely. Bringing them on that journey into what often feels like the unknown.
I like thinking about the leader as a kind of bridge. Does that resonate?
It's a great analogy, a vital bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Helping everyone, and like you said, especially employees, cross from where they are now, the familiar state.
To somewhere new, somewhere
Yeah.
desired, but maybe a bit scary.
Right. And it's in that act of building and crossing that bridge that you can start to dissolve some of that natural resistance to change.
But let's be honest, it's not easy. Implementing change successfully, it's tough work.
Oh, absolutely. It's never a smooth, straight line.
Yeah.
And being an effective leader in that messy process, it's far from easy.
You're going to hit bumps.
Definitely. Temporary setbacks, real fear from people, maybe even outright conflict. That's almost guaranteed.
So the real test isn't avoiding those things.
No, it's how you navigate through them. That's the mark of real leadership and change.
Okay, so given how hard it is, what's in the leader's toolkit? What are the actual practices that help them build that bridge, especially when things feel so uncertain?
Well, successful leaders, the really effective ones, they don't just sort of point to the future. They actively connect the here and now with that future position.
What does that look like day to day?
It's about consistent, deliberate actions, things like deep, active listening, really hearing what's not being said to.
Empathy.
Genuine empathy, yes. Not just surface level, I understand, but tapping into those unspoken fears. And then setting high expectations, but ones that are achievable.
Showing support is key too, I imagine.
Unwavering support. And maybe most importantly, tirelessly, constantly working to develop trust.
Okay. And you mentioned preparation earlier. It sounds like that's where it all begins. Robust preparation, planning.
Absolutely. It starts there. An effective leader first prepares themselves. They need to really get it deep down before they try to prepare the business.
So developing a plan, a business case.
Yes, a solid plan of action or a compelling business case. It needs to clearly spell out the what, obviously, but critically the why. Why is this change necessary?
And the how, presumably. Timelines, strategies.
Exactly. It's not just about process documents, though. It's about crafting a narrative, a story that explains the need for change. And the leader has to have this crystal clear vision, almost feel it, of what that future state looks like.
This planning stage must involve some tough calls, though.
Oh, inevitably. Some of the hardest decisions. Change, let's face it, can sometimes mean job losses or other difficult consequences.
And the leader has to own those decisions.
With integrity, yes. And it's worth stressing again, inadequate preparation. It's such a common reason why change initiatives just fizzle out, often before they even get going properly.
Which brings us neatly to communication. So fundamental, but wow, so often done badly.
Tell me about it. It's not enough to just send out an email announcing the change, right?
Definitely not. The vision, the why behind it, the challenges driving it, how things are progressing, all of that needs to be communicated clearly consistently.
And to everyone
Wow.
across the entire business.
What's really critical, I think, is that it can't just be top-down broadcasting.
Exactly. Getting that initial buy-in from people, getting stakeholders on board early on, that can dramatically cut down resistance later.
So two-way communication.
Absolutely. Leaders need to champion that. Actively seek out opinions, welcome feedback, even criticism.
That's where the empathy and listening skills come back in.
They help you uncover the real points of resistance, those hidden worries people might not say directly, if communication is unclear or if people feel ignored.
You get opposition, delays.
Yeah,
The whole thing can stall.
precisely.
Okay, so you've got the vision, you've communicated it, people have hopefully heard it, but then they need to feel they can actually get there. That's support, right?
Yes, genuine support. An effective leader makes sure people have the help they need. That might be counseling to cope emotionally or specific training for new skills, maybe mentoring for new roles.
And when people feel supported.
When they feel supported, when they truly believe their leader actually cares about their well-being, they're just much more willing to accept the risks that always come with change.
It creates a kind of safety net.
Psychological safety, exactly, which you need if you want people to try new things, to experiment a little.
Building on that, collaboration seems crucial too. You can't do this alone.
No way. Getting all the key stakeholders involved, engaged,
Yeah.
it's absolutely central.
So forming teams.
Effective leaders do that proactively. Cross-functional teams often work well to drive the change. And it's about delegating tasks smartly, not just by job title, but who has the capacity, the right skills.
And creating opportunities for others to get involved.
Intentionally, yes. It's not just about spreading the workload. It's about fostering a sense of ownership. People are always more likely to embrace change, even difficult change, if they feel they're part of creating the solution, not just having it done to them.
Right, they have some skin in the game.
Exactly.
And then, accountability. This feels like a big one, especially when things get messy.
It is huge. In that unpredictable journey of change, the leader needs to be clearly responsible for the wins, yes, but also for the setbacks.
It's not just about taking the blame if things go wrong, though.
No, it's deeper than that. It reflects integrity, and integrity is the absolute foundation for building trust with your people.
And the opposite, lack of accountability.
Oh, that breeds mistrust instantly. Confusion, too. But accountability does more than just build trust. It really fuels commitment. It creates this desire to solve problems, to find solutions, driving towards the best outcome for the business.
So pulling it all together then,
Yeah.
an effective leader.
Okay, so ultimately, an effective leader sets those high expectations, yes. They actively sell the change, you could say, to get cooperation and acceptance. They have to be good at resolving conflict. They need to keep an open mind, because the best path might emerge along the way.
Cultivating stability while driving forward. That sounds tricky.
It is, it's a balancing act. But they manage it, and they deal productively with resistance because, going back to what we said, stakeholders feel heard, they feel supported, and fundamentally they trust their leader.
Okay, let's make this concrete. You mentioned a case study. Telstra, right, the Australian telecoms company.
Yes, Telstra. And specifically, its former CEO, Andy Penn. He took over as CEO back in 2015, and, well, he inherited a company facing some pretty significant financial challenges.
Right, so not an easy situation to walk into.
Not at all. Imagine taking the helm of a huge corporation that's struggling. So in 2018, Penn announced this major strategy, Telstra 2022, or T22.
And this was the tough transformation.
Extremely tough, almost brutal, some might say. It involved making thousands of people redundant, slashing costs aggressively, and radically simplifying the whole business structure.
Wow, that must have been incredibly difficult to lead.
Immense pressure. But what's interesting is that in 2021, the Telstra chairman, John Mullen, publicly praised Penn's leadership. He said Penn led the company through some of the most difficult times of its existence and had, importantly, 100% board support.
That really speaks volumes, doesn't it? Leading, not just managing through crisis.
It really does. And Penn's approach, looking back, clearly demonstrates those key principles we've been talking about.
Like communication.
Absolutely. He didn't just hide behind press releases. He was out there, clearly, consistently explaining why the change was necessary, talking to investors, talking to the media.
Being transparent about the tough choices.
Exactly. He explained T22 was the hard medicine needed to build a foundation, and the next phase, T25, would be about growth. His vision was remarkably clear. He said it wasn't just about cutting costs.
What else was it about?
He said it was also about radically simplifying the company, redigitizing all of our technology, establishing our leadership position in 5G, and of course, setting up our infrastructure business as a standalone business unit.
That's a very clear picture.
And he expressed real confidence in achieving it. Not just hope, but confidence.
Okay, and accountability. How did that play out?
Penn was apparently quite relentless on that. He consistently emphasized discipline in executing the strategy, holding business units and even individual performance to account.
But not in a blame culture way.
It seems not. More about ensuring everyone understood their part in making the transformation succeed. Shared responsibility driven from the top.
Interesting. What about building a team?
That's another key point. When Penn eventually retired in March 2022, the chairman, Mullen, specifically mentioned that Penn had carefully built a strong team, a capable team ready to take over.
Succession planning is part of leadership.
Exactly. And the proof was immediate. The CFO, Vicky Brady, stepped right into the CEO role. It showed he wasn't just focused on his own legacy, but on the company's future leadership.
And this is all happening during the pandemic, too.
Let's not forget that. He provided that steady leadership through what Mullen called an extraordinary time, navigating the pandemic not just as a business challenge, but guiding Telstra's role as critical national infrastructure.
That Telstra story really highlights something important, doesn't it? The difference between just managing change and actually leading it.
It really does. It brings us to this fascinating contrast, one that's often quite counterintuitive, the difference between a manager's mind and a leader's soul when facing transformation.
Okay, tell me more. How do they differ?
While their whole outlook can be fundamentally different, a manager typically desires stability, right? They often see change as a disruption, something to be managed and contained.
Whereas a leader?
A leader often sees crisis or disruption as a catalyst, an opportunity, really, a stimulus for improvement, maybe even innovation.
So managers might try to repeat what worked before.
Often, yes. Duplicate successful efforts. Leaders, though, they tend to want to break new ground, to innovate, try something different.
And how they approach structure.
A manager might focus on fixing things in place, creating permanent structures. But a leader, they're often more comfortable unfastening things, unfixing, even taking things apart to prevent the business from getting stuck, from stagnating. Rigidity is the enemy.
What about decision-making?
Managers often work towards compromise, finding that middle ground to keep things smooth. Leaders sometimes aren't afraid to polarize people around different viewpoints.
Why would they do that?
To clarify the fundamental differences, perhaps. To force a clearer choice to get real, lasting alignment, not just a temporary truce.
That's interesting. And how they react to external forces.
External shifts often make a manager react, maybe defensively. But those same shifts, they can stimulate a leader to become really proactive, not just anticipating change, but actively trying to shape it, maybe even create it.
So the manager says, plan for change.
Meticulously plan. The leader might say, let's experiment with it, let's learn fast and adapt as we go.
And we see so much reorganization these days.
Right. And the manager's mind might deal with that fairly easily, sometimes seeing the reorg as the solution.
But the leader?
The leader wants to dig deeper, to rethink the fundamentals. They're wary of being fooled by reorganizations that just shuffle the boxes but don't fix the real underlying problems.
So manager refines, leader revolutionizes. Is that too simple?
It's a stark contrast, perhaps simplifies it a bit, but captures the essence. Managers often refine existing structures. Leaders might champion a complete overhaul, a paradigm shift. Of course, the very best leaders probably know when to draw on both mindsets.
Okay, so let's try and bring all these threads together for our listener. What's the core takeaway here?
Well, if we connect it all back, I think the main point is that a truly successful leader during transformation is someone who can, effectively market or promote the change to get that vital cooperation.
They need to be good at resolving conflict.
Definitely. Keep an open mind to new ideas that pop up. Master that tricky balance of cultivating stability while still pushing the business forward, sometimes quite aggressively.
Showing confidence in people, too.
Absolutely. Showing genuine confidence in their people, sharing the credit when things go well, and relentlessly building and communicating that clear, compelling vision we talked about.
So understanding all this, how does it empower you, the listener?
Well, whether you're actually leading a big transformation yourself, or maybe just navigating change within your team or company, understanding these dynamics is incredibly useful.
It helps you spot effective leadership.
Yes, it gives you a better lens to see what good leadership looks like in practice. And maybe more importantly, it helps you understand what levers you might be able to influence or pull when change inevitably affects you.
Okay, so maybe a final thought for people to consider.
Yeah, think about this for yourself. In your own work or even in your personal life, when you face significant change, which mindset did you see more? Or which did you perhaps adopt yourself? Was it more the manager's mind, reacting, refining, managing?
Or was it more the leader's soul, embracing experimentation, seeking a more fundamental shift, maybe even driving the change?
And looking ahead, what approach, considering everything we've discussed, might be the most effective for the next big challenge that you face?
It's definitely something to reflect on. How can you apply these ideas yourself to, well, foster more acceptance, inspire action, and hopefully achieve better outcomes in your own change journeys?